One of the topics people struggle with a little bit on the 7th edition of the APM PMQ qualification is the different types of project management office. So in this video, we're going to look at 3 different types: embedded PMO, the central PMO, and what they call the hub and spoke PMO. We'll look at the pros and cons of each and what sort of the features of each of these as we go through. So let's look at what a PMO is, or project or program management office. So it's basically an organization that provides support to projects, programs, or portfolios. Now, what do we mean by support? It's usually process-based support. It's usually support based on the project management processes, tools, and techniques. So planning, risk management, maintaining the change log, organizing meetings, maybe running risk workshops, doing risk analysis, maintaining the plans, project reporting, project auditing. So looking at the core project management processes as applied to the project. It doesn't, some people say it's an office. It's not things like desks and heating and lighting. It's not that support. It's a sort of project management technical support, understanding of how to set up and run a project. And it can support projects, a program, so you might see a program office or portfolio office, but essentially they do the same thing. They support the project manager. So they're not usually responsible for delivery of the main products in the project. They're responsible for making sure the process of project management run well. First type of PMO we see is an embedded PMO. So that's under the control of the project, program, or portfolio manager. So it's part of the project. It reports to the project manager for that project. So the people are dedicated to that project. They'll do the reporting and performance reporting for that project. They might establish bespoke systems. So systems we mean IT systems or tools or spreadsheets or databases that are tailored specifically to the needs of this project. But they may still have to follow some corporate process, so that you can imagine this project is living within an overall business, and that business may have policies for reporting, or may have policies for health and safety, or may have policies for investment appraisal. So the PMO has to follow those processes to some extent. The benefit of this approach is it's dedicated, isn't it? It's like dedicated to that project, and to some extent can tailor the approaches to fit the needs of that particular project. So that's the first type. A second type is a central PMO. So typically this is for smaller projects, and it sits outside the project team, provides support to several projects. So here we got several projects that are supported by this PMO. And so again, that might be planning support or reporting support or workshop or risk analysis support. But the people are shared across those several projects. Usually you'll see this PMO trying to do some consistent reporting across these different projects. So quite often this might be in a department, for instance, and so the head of department may say, well, actually what I'd like is all my project managers to use the same progress reporting sheet, and so the PMO will sort of develop that with the project managers and run that reporting process on behalf of the senior manager. So they'll try to use similar tools and techniques for each of the projects. So they'll try to get consistency across the cluster, if you like, of projects here. And generally, this defines its own processes. So I ran one of these in a R&D department once, basically. So I supported all the projects in that R&D department, or maybe an IT department. You might find that there's a PMO within that IT department or division. But the thing is, it's sort of standalone. It's not integrated with the rest of the business in any particular way. So it's more cost effective for smaller projects than a dedicated PMO. So if you had lots of small projects, it wouldn't be possible to have like a dedicated PMO for each of these. Now, some organizations have lots and lots of projects geographically split, and they want to get consistency across all the different PMOs. So they'd like them all to work to the same processes, produce the same types of progress reports. So that's where we get what we call a hub and spoke approach. So hub and spoke approach has a sort of enterprise PMO. Sounds very posh, but it's basically a head office PMO, and that supports often regional PMOs. If you think of these as different regions, they could all be in the same location, but more often they're in different departments or different regions. And so what this PMO in the middle is doing is setting the policy and going out and building tools. It might software tools. It might support reporting like dashboards or databases or commissioning IT systems, and then passing those down to these subsidiary or satellite PMOs. I've described it a little bit too hierarchically because it's very collaborative, because these are the people at the coalface working with the project managers. So usually they're demanding improvements in the systems supported by the central PMO. So it can be a little bit difficult if you're in the center trying to support lots of different PMOs doing their own thing, really. So there's a lot of collaborative working here. So basically, the people are mostly dedicated to supporting projects in the departments or out where the projects are being run. But there's usually be a head of function, a head of planning, head of cost, head of risk, head of reporting, or whatever. It sits in the PMO and defines or collaboratively creates the processes and procedures we're going to follow. So performance and control reporting is done in the satellite PMO. So usually the satellite PMOs will fill in some form of progress report, and then that might be collated by the central PMO into like a board pack or something like that. So usually the people in the centralized PMO can, go out and commission IT systems or design software packages or data portals to meet the needs of the business. That's one of the big advantages of this type of PMO, is you get that economies of scale that enable you to really develop systems and processes and procedures that are quite mature. And so part of the role of these people in the central PMO is to help to develop, in collaboration with the PMOs, the satellite PMOs, how are we going to control documents? How are we going to do progress reporting? How are we going to plan and control our projects across the organization? So they're more complicated, but where you need a consistent approach across lots and lots of projects, often across multiple regions, then a hub and spoke PMO is probably one of the best options. So let's compare these really. So the level of support to the PM. So embedded, really, because you've got that embedded team, they give lots and lots of support. Central PMOs, it's quite difficult because you're supporting lots and lots of projects, and a hub and spoke could be, you come sometimes see an embedded PMO combined in a hub and spoke as well. So you might have that central hub, but a mega project that also has an embedded team. The embedded PMO is going to be really good at reporting. It's working directly with the project manager. It's going to be able to give the project manager the data it wants, and they're going to be very close to that data, aren't they? Well, a central PMO is a little bit, further remote, and a hub and spoke PMO. Sometimes these, company-wide procedures don't really give the project manager what they want. That never happens, does it? The hub and spoke really wins in systems implementation. So if you want to build bespoke systems for your organization or roll out, structured approaches to planning or cost control or risk or whatever, then that's the big advantage of hub and spoke. Whereas, embedded PMOs are really about focusing on the delivery of this project. And so unless it's a really, really mega project, they're not going to have the resources to invest in business systems, really. Process effectiveness. So again, the embedded PMO is going to use a lot of Excel spreadsheets and home developed databases, so it's not going to be the most effective, efficient aspect, whereas a hub and spoke PMO gives you more efficiency aspect. But embedded PMO is significantly more expensive. Centralized PMO is cheapest, and a hub and spoke is sort of in the middle, really. So that's just my views, actually. Those aren't the APM views, but so there are pros and cons of each, really. So this picture is taken from the APM Body of Knowledge, and it looks at the different types of PMO and whether it's a sort of project office, program level, or portfolio level. So an embedded PMO, the people, performance, and systems generally embedded within that project. Whereas there may be some sort of portfolio level process, some central coordination of process. We're a central PMO, you know, that's responsible for people, processes and systems at a program portfolio. And I expect well, it's not dedicated to one project, it's usually shared across multiple projects. So those four things all live together. Whereas in a hub and spoke, it's shared, you see. So the local project office will provide the people and do the performance reporting, whereas the sort of hub will do the process management and define the process and define the systems. So that's quite a good summary. So I hope you found that useful. And if you have any comments, please leave them below. And please, I have to say like and subscribe, don't I? Please like and subscribe to our channel.